NFL Combine wrapping up. Or as I affectionately refer to it, the Underwear Olympics. Whee! Not to be confused with something that actually matters, like the Slob Olympics. Uncle Lou won the 2023 Slob Olympics last weekend. Gold medalist. Speaking of gold medalists, Anthony Richardson, quarterback, University of Florida. Now, I've got a lot of questions and then a lot of kind of thoughts and opinions about some of this stuff here. Let's start here. I do like the combine. I'm obviously a college football fan, not necessarily an NFL fan, although I do watch some NFL. I'm way more of a college fan. And even when I watch the NFL, I watch it from a college fan's perspective. Players in college that I enjoyed watching, regardless of what team they played for, I do like watching them in the NFL, especially their first couple of years, to kind of see how they do. I'm by no means an expert on the NFL or the combine for that matter. When I watch the combine, I'm watching for a couple of reasons. I want to watch players I liked in college and see how they do at the combine. But now you always have this debate, what does the combine really mean, right? What are teams looking for in the combine? Well, to me, when it comes to the combine, let's say you got a couple of players, 2, 3, 4 players, right, that all play the same position. And as a team or an organization, an NFL organization, you're trying to figure out which one of those 2, 3, or 4 players you should draft, whether you're talking first round or fifth round or sixth round type players, right? You're taking you're taking players that are similarly talented, and you're using the combine to maybe differentiate between them. And I'll give you just sort of a basic example here. Let's say you've got 2 college quarterbacks who over the course of their college career put up identical numbers, exactly the same completion percentage, exactly the same number of touchdown passes, exactly the same number of interceptions, exactly the same amount of rushing yards, exactly the same amount of rushing touchdowns. They've taken the exact same number of sacks. Literally every stat is identical for the 2. Why do you decide which one you want to? And they're both the same style of quarterback, whether you consider that a pocket passer, a mobile QB, or a dual threat QB. They're literally the exact same. How do you differentiate between those two when it comes to who you're going to draft? Well, what if one is 6'3" and one is 6'1"? That's something you would find out at the combine. What if one runs a 5 or a 4.5 40 and the other runs a 4.4 40? I think you see the point I'm making here. I don't think that just because a player runs a fast 40 means they're going to be a great NFL player. Or just because they can do 45 reps on the 225 bench at the combine means they're going to be a great player. Or whatever. There's no one thing. I think the combine is used to differentiate between similar players at the same position. So, with that in mind, that's how I watch the combine. I feel like some NFL teams, though, just don't watch college football. The Anthony Richardson thing. We heard when Anthony Richardson was in high school, what? He's an amazing athlete. He's big. He's tall. He's fast. He's strong. He's got a cannon for an arm. All this stuff. We heard it all. We saw the Elite 11 crap or whatever the camps he went to and the highlight films from high school. He gets to Florida. Turns out he's not any good. He's still really fast. He's still really big. Still really strong. Still has a cannon for an arm. Still extremely athletic. Still does front flips and back flips during pregame warmups even when he's injured and can't play in the game. But when he does play in the game, turns out he can't complete a pass. People are going absolutely nuts about Anthony Richardson's combine performance. Why? I agree, it was amazing. Watching Anthony Richardson at a combine was unbelievable. It might be the best combine performance in history. It's definitely one of the best combine performances of any quarterback in history. Is anyone surprised? How is it that people are blown away by Anthony Richardson's combine performance? He's been the biggest, fastest, strongest, with the biggest arm human being on the planet for 3 or 4 years. That's not the problem. No one had any questions about whether or not Anthony Richardson could run a fast 40. No one had any questions about Anthony Richardson's vertical. No one had any questions about Anthony Richardson's ability to move around the pocket or throw the ball 80 yards on his knees. These things have been known since this kid was 16. I don't understand all these NFL blogs and NFL shows on TV and NFL websites and NFL YouTubers going nuts like they just found Bigfoot. Anybody with any sense at all, at least in terms of college football, has known Anthony Richardson possesses all these tools for years. None of that is the problem. The problem with Anthony Richardson is he can't complete a pass. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that not still the number one trait required to play quarterback at pretty much any level? We were like 8 games into the season this past season before his touchdowns equaled his interceptions. He's just not. He's all the things everyone is saying he is at the combine. He's all of those things, but he ain't a quarterback. Now, there is one other option. There is one other possibility. That other possibility is that Florida just doesn't know what the hell they're doing as a program and as 2 different coaching staffs, because Richardson was there for a couple of years under Mullen, and he was there this year under Napier. Totally different offensive schemes, totally different playbooks, totally different styles of offense. Same exact result for our boy Anthony Richardson, which is piss poor quarterback. Piss poor quarterback. You've got people mock drafting Anthony Richardson as the number 1 quarterback overall. Now look, like I said, I am not an NFL expert, I'm not a draft expert, and I'm not a combine expert. Maybe somebody drafts Anthony Richardson and he ends up having a hell of an NFL career at quarterback. But I'd be absolutely shocked. I'd be absolutely shocked. We've got plenty of game tape of Anthony Richardson. And look, I'm willing to admit that I may be wrong about Anthony Richardson's future in the NFL. But what I'm not wrong about, he's got no business being drafted anywhere in the top 10 or the first round for that matter. Some of these NFL teams and front offices, and look, I know y'all agree with me because I see comments all over the place about how idiotic these people are with their draft picks every year. So I know you agree with me. Some of these NFL people think they're way smarter than they actually are. They think they're way smarter than they actually are. They see Anthony Richardson and they go, yeah, he can't complete a pass and he throws the ball to the other team more than he throws it to his own. But we can fix him. We can fix him. I don't know, man. I don't know. Especially high in the draft. When it comes to quarterback especially, I want to take a guy who has shown me on tape, in games, against elite competition, that he can complete passes and perform at a high level. And you are going to be hard-pressed to find any game Anthony Richardson has ever started where he checks those boxes or where he meets those criteria. Yes, you can put together a highlight reel of Anthony Richardson running 2 or 3 80-yard touchdown runs. Guess how many of those he's getting in the NFL? 0. He's not getting any of those in the NFL. You can find a highlight reel that shows Anthony Richardson throwing the ball 50 yards downfield, laser beam on a rope right to a wide receiver. Yeah, you can find that. Watch the games. The guy was terrible at Florida. It's one of 2 things. Either Anthony Richardson's a terrible quarterback or Florida has had not 1, but 2 completely incompetent and inept coaching staffs offensively that have had what people in the NFL seem to think is the greatest quarterback ever, and all they did was waste him. One of those 2 things is true. Neither one is good for Florida. Neither one. If Anthony Richardson goes on to the NFL and becomes a great QB, well, that just proves what we already know. Dan Mullen and Billy Napier didn't know what the hell they were doing. That would prove that. If he goes on to the NFL and flops, well, then Florida was stupid because 2 different coaching staffs chose to start Anthony Richardson at QB, and he's an absolute disaster. Neither of these things is good for Florida. Florida man, wouldn't you rather have Tim Tebow? Tim Tebow can't complete a pass in the NFL. Does a Florida man care? No. Why? He's a Florida fan, not an NFL fan. I agree with you on that. I feel the same way. I don't care what Stetson Bennett does in the NFL. I don't think he's going to be successful in the NFL. Couldn't care less. Guy's got 2 rings at Georgia. I don't care what he does in the NFL. So as a Florida fan, wouldn't you much rather have a Tim Tebow? And I'm not even talking about the specific stats or style of play. I mean, wouldn't you rather have a guy that delivered for you in college and didn't do squiddly doop in the NFL than to have somebody like Anthony Richardson who did nothing but throw interceptions and embarrass himself for 3 years at Florida, but then somehow goes on to the NFL and has an amazing career? Which would you rather have, Florida man? Anyway, let me know in the comments down below. Anthony Richardson, gold medal winner this year's Underwear Olympics.